Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest version of Tales from Outer Space, where I take an HFY story from somewhere around the internet and read it aloud for your enjoyment. All the relevant links are down below. Like, subscribe, and all that YouTube comf to help this video and channel grow. Anyways, as always, I hope that you enjoy. I would just like to thank the following Tier 5 patrons and channel members for supporting the channel: FallenAngel, BuzzKillington, Datamagnet, and Bob the Dragon. Thank you again. And now, on to the story. Story number 1, A Warrior's Death, written by Echoing Cascade. The death of men entered the terrifying truth. The bar where all the deaths of sentience throughout the universe met to talk and get their hands, pseudopods, tentacles, claws, and other appendages on a cold drink. The death of man was given a wide berth. He used to be mocked for the training he did in his off hours and the multitude of weapons he carried in the hammer space inside of his cloak. That was until he allowed a few of his peers to follow him into the human war a few centuries ago. The rules of the various deaths were quite simple. They appeared in person only to the dying soldiers on a battlefield and to females who were about to die during childbirth. They had earned the right to be reaped in person. The deaths would appear to them in a place between the swill and the neck and end their mortal lives so that they could move on. The war he took the other deaths to was a small affair by human standards. Only a couple million had perished. This alone terrified the deaths of the more passive species, who didn't see this quantity of casualties in centuries. But what followed terrified even the deaths of the proud warrior races. When the death of men approached the dying soldiers, there was the usual mix of reactions: fear, shock, and serenity brought by knowing that the fighting was done. They allowed death to simply swing his scythe and go to their afterlife. But that was not all. Some did not look at death with fear or reverence. No, some looked angry, furious, and from the depths of their souls conjured weapons they wielded in life and charged. Former enemies and allies alike trying to kill, well, death itself. The death of men grinned, not that he could pull many other expressions, and drew from his cloak a long sword and a short axe as his scythe of office disappeared. The fight was short, and the soldiers fell to the eternal rest in a couple of swings. Death of men, you see, they do not always allow themselves to be reaped. Sometimes they fight back. I blame that one human who said something about not going gently into that good planetary rotation or something. The other deaths nodded. They were used to fear, or being welcomed, and the odd begging, but hostility, and the fact that they wielded weapons. No one made fun of the death of men after that. The death of men had come into the bar after a hard day of work. The Strali had declared war on a human colony. The Marines deployed them had given their transport to evacuate civilians and had chosen to stay and fight. 100 Marines fought 4,000 Strali. A little over 2,000 Strali remained when the dust settled. It come to reap the Marines when things got complicated. The death of men appeared in front of the Marines. Captain Cross, you and your soldiers fought well, but it is time to lay down your arms and go to your just reward. Captain Cross was not a religious man, but seeing a cloaked skeletal figure wielding a scythe and all his men he had previously seen torn to shreds and mutilated stand in perfect uniform was something even he could hardly ignore. What happens now? Death of men. It is not for me to decide. I am but a reaper. I end lives. I do no more and no less. Captain Cross nodded and looked at his men. They had certainly earned their rest, every last one of them. Wait, not all of them. Can anyone see Drake, Vasquez, or Willard? The soldiers present looked around, and after a moment the answer came back. They were not here. Death of men. I have not reaped them yet. They are running away from the Strali as you had ordered. They have complete records of the engagements they are to deliver to High Command. Captain Cross: Not reaped them yet. The death of men knew what was going to happen next. He'd seen it before. I could always lie, he thought to himself for a second, but he couldn't. Death of men. There is an order to these things. I cannot reap them until I've reaped you all. Captain Cross had been looking old, grey and tired, but was now young and in his prime. His pristine uniform started to fade. Is that right? The uniform was now completely gone. In its place, his old battered armor, sword, and pulse pistol clothed him like a regalia of a warrior king. The death of men didn't need to look at the other soldiers to know the same was happening to them. Before we begin, you should know that a day here is but a second where those three are. The Marines didn't hear or didn't care. They were already attacking. Vasquez was the last surviving member of his unit. The two other had stood their ground to give him more time. He was always the fastest, and he was now running for the communications center. He had a job to do, and he would complete it no matter what. He made it to the console. He was downloading the data in his armor and was about to send it to High Command. This would be more than enough to earn them an edge when they faced the Strali. Before the wound on his chest could kill him, he pushed the final button to send the file, and he could have sworn he saw a cloaked figure in the corner of his eye, arms crossed, leaning against the wall. The 97 Marines had earned 10 seconds and 9/10 of a second. It took Vasquez, Drake, and Willard 11 seconds flat to finish their work. The death of men took his glass and looked at it solemnly and smiled to himself. So I rounded up. No law against that. He finished his drink and went back home. Today, he would focus on his footwork. End of story. Story number 2. M.A.D. Written by Meangator. Humanity was the last one to join the galactic community. Community. It was more like an ancient Far West. It was good fortune for us that we discovered FTL drives very late, so we have considerable advanced technology in our hands. We are not that powerful to draw a coalition against us, but powerful enough to give second thoughts to anyone not having the better of intentions. The dream of joining the community died in its tracks. It was kill, not be killed, eat, not be eaten. Unfortunately, we got the attention of the Jarzan. It's an irony. By the physical appearance of one of the most dangerous species, it was not like a feverish nightmare. They were not lizards. They were not insectoids. They were humanoids, beautiful, elven-like humanoids. Jarzan were considerably more advanced technologically and way more powerful. We would have no luck in a full confrontation. But humans were not naive to these kinds of games. You see, almost every species was unified long before they left the planet for the first time. Humans, on the other hand, were not unified even after discovering FTL. Our solar system has the same violent history as our planet. The only reason that we hadn't blown ourselves to Kingdom Come was the same reason that we didn't annihilate ourselves in a nuclear inferno. Back when we all lived on old Earth. M.A.D. Mutually assured destruction. The Jarzan were to get a hard lesson that humans don't frick around with retaliating. It's good to learn for your mistakes. It's even better to learn from the mistakes of others. The whole galactic community will have today the chance to learn from Jarzan's mistake. Do not frick with humans. I am alone in the cockpit. I'm not riding on my spaceship. It's not a spaceship. It's a nova bomb that'll dive deep into Jarzan's home system star and create a wormhole that'll destabilize the core. I look at the photo of my family, my husband, and my 2 kids. Our colony was used by Jarzan as an example. My family, long dead. I volunteered to use their own freaking homeworld to make an even more severe example. Frick with us, and we are going to frick with you back, not in the 10-fold, not in the 100-fold, but to 1,000-fold, to a 10,000-fold. I was deep in their sun's core. My time had come. I pumped up the volume. I wouldn't go silently into the dark. When you're brought into this world, they say that you're born in sin. Well, at least they gave me something. I didn't have to steal or have to win. Well, they'll tell me I'm wanted. Yeah, I'm a wanted man. I'm a colt in your stable. I'm what Cain was to Abel. Mr. Catch Me If You Can. I pressed the button. I'm going out in a blaze of glory. Take me now, but know the truth. I'm going out in a blaze of glory. Moments later, the blaze of a new supernova lit the galaxy. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please consider supporting the author, even by popping over and leaving a thumbs up or a nice comment, just to show your appreciation for the story. However, if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below which will help immensely. I will see you all in the next one, and until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers.